Time freezes for 48 hours and you're the only thing not affected. What do you choose to do? Be confused. I would jump from one idea to another and won't be able to start until the time's over. So basically nothing. Try to infiltrate Area 51. No a-hole here. They're the ones causing this. You think you're a step ahead, but you're actually 4 behind. They're about 4 parallel universes ahead of you. Move everyone slightly off the ground, not enough to get hurt, but enough to realize you're falling, making sure everyone is in the exact same position, except one person hanging off of something very visible, so everyone gets a weird falling feeling, except that guy who really can't explain why he's in a harness hanging of 2 light posts. Get beaten up by a 4D time cop. Time police Methodika. Stop breaking the space time. Continue. I will mess with time. Sniffle. Tales from the Loop did an episode similar to this, except it spanned months. I assumed they ransacked stores and fancy homes, caught a parent cheating, and lost hope of the situation as a whole. Depressing series and hard to watch, believe it or not, compared to a similar counterpart, like Black Mirror. Simon Street Lenhag is an artist and the series was based on the art book of the same name. Link. An Amazon original. Episode 3 for those interested. Other series recommendations: Utopia UK version on Amazon. Love, Death and Robots on Netflix. The OA on Netflix. Devs on Hulu. Black Mirror on Netflix. Mr. Robot. Amazon maybe, depending on country. Predestination a movie. Dark on Netflix. 3% on Netflix. The original Twilight Zone series did this back in the black and white days. A guy had a stopwatch that he could use to stop time and do things. Did all the obvious stuff with it. But then the watch broke, and he was stuck with time frozen forever. Twilight Zone was the original Minduck TV. TZ the original Minduck, yeah. I vividly remember watching the debut episode Where Is Everybody? More than 61 years ago, and I was hooked instantly. Still my favorite TV show of all time. And the late 80s reboot is in my top 5 because, though it wasn't as good as the old BW, the reboot did not disappoint either. In fact, my favorite TZ episode of all time, Dreams for Sale, came from the 80s series. Probably browse Reddit and wonder why there's nothing new. Isn't that just normal in Reddit? We had some trouble connecting to Reddit. I wish I could freeze for 48 hours and time would just move on. That's called heroin. Made my day. About a half hour of not realizing. 47.5 hours of existential crisis. Followed by years of therapy. The true answer. Ask the Japanese. They made a whole genre of porn asking this question. Is there something the Japanese haven't made a genre of porn on? How to actually make a woman orgasm. To be fair, that's most countries. In all fairness to the Japanese, it's hard to make a woman climax when her genitals are made of large pixelated tiles. Procrastinate. Props. Haha. Most realistic answer. It would be like having 2 hours before bedtime to watch a movie and spending most of the 2 hours adding movies to your watch list. Glad to hear I'm not the only one who does this. Edit. I don't think I've ever got more than about 10 upvotes for anything I've posted on Reddit before. And then I get 3,000 for glad to hear I'm not the only one who does this. I'll flip through Netflix for an hour feeling like nothing is right. And in the end I watch people restoring guitars and hand tools on YouTube. Rob drug dealers. What are they gonna do? Report it to the police. Ironically, they actually do. Or you go and they say EHH somebody broke in and threatened me. They took all my money. I once went to somebody that got his cannabis farm burgled and smashed up clearly by a rival dealer and he rang it in and wanted a crime number. Ironically, they actually do. The really dumb ones do. But they won't last as long as drug dealers anyway. Crime. To the bank, to the bank, to the bank, bank, bank. To the bank, to the bank, to the bank, 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 to the bank, to the bank, to the bank, 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 or to the bank. Break it down. The cameras won't get you because time stop, but banks record serial numbers of cash. Right. They're a really bad place to hit up for money. What you want to do is rob a high traffic retail place. though since COVID they probably don't have as much on hand nowadays. I would be a bank robbing mofo. I could amass one heck of a stack in 48 hours. Just get to Vegas and pickpocket all the high roller tables and pits. Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter. You take a sip from your trusty Vault 13 canteen. Finally get a good night's sleep without any interruptions. I'm sure sleep is the only thing I will not be having. You underestimate my sleep deficit. Tie people's shoelaces together. Pick up all of the dog crap in my neighbor's yard and put it in her living room. And steal the Declaration of Independence. Then hide it in Nick Cage's house. Oh, that's beautiful. Payback for all the shitty films he's been in since National Treasure. Have you ever seen Click with Adam Sandler? Yeah. It's only 1 hour and 47 minutes. What do I do with the other 46 hours? Watch it again. Multiply 3090. Here I come. Spends the whole 48 hours just trying to find one somewhere. It's okay. I live pretty close to Linus Tech Tips. I'm sure he has quite a few laying around. Get his Ryzen 5000 series chips too. I'd steal a bicycle, because I don't own one, and ride around enjoying the quiet and stillness. Maybe an electric bicycle, because I'm old and fat, and in reality I'd probably last 10 minutes on a regular bike. Steal money from banks and replace it with colored coins. Edit bruh, I just woke up and found this WTF. It took me like 30 seconds to type this. They'll never know what hit M. I'd steal so much. Edit, this really blew up. Lots of questions about what I'd steal. Do security cameras still work? Etc. Honestly, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. Use your imaginations. It's a hypothetical fantasy situation. Maybe I'd just steal your hearts. I wouldn't steal a lot. Just something people assumed was too well guarded to be stolen. And carefully leave a calling card. World's greatest thief. With basically zero effort. Edit, like 20 replies referencing P5 and not a single loop-in reference. Disappointing. The greatest thief that only struck once and only because they could. Masterful. The act itself doesn't matter. It's not about being the best thief. It's about the legend. If someone stole something the world assumed was impossible to get away with undetected and left a calling card, people would be talking about who it could be for years. Steal all the ducking Legos I want. This right here. The Lego store near me would be empty. All the Walmarts and Targets would be devoid of Lego. I love this hobby. But why does it have to be so expensive? Walk around naked with no shame. Do a helicopter every now and then. Find a nice beauty spot. Drink some beers. Whilst having some music on. A basic way to spend my 48 hours. But a peaceful one. Do a helicopter every now and then. I could imagine a drunk man in the middle of a super busy place as soon as time unfreezes doing the helicopter and everyone just like, what the duck happened here? Some are saying to rob banks. No a-hole here. This isn't the good option. It has too much possibility of being caught in a variety of ways. First thing I do. Get in my car and drive somewhere 10 hours away from me. I then start going around to jewelry shops and I start taking the precious metals. Mostly ignore the gemstones. Those have lesser value on the resale and also have the possibility of getting tracked. Gemstone chemical signatures and such are tracked to some extent for this reason. I spend the bulk of the next 20 hours or so just loading up on gold, silver, etc. before driving back towards my hometown. Somewhere 2 hours away from home, probably on the opposite side of where I did my thefts. I go to a spot in the middle of nowhere and I dig a hole in the ground in some very out of the way spot and I bury the metals there. I then head home and at that point I should have a few hours left. More preparation is needed. The moment that time resumes, I go to my car and I head out into town to my various usual shops. The Starbucks, the Subway, the grocery store, the hardware store, etc. And I make it a point to chat with the people there. Maybe I hit on some of the employees while dying inside. That's not really something I do, just to make it a little more memorable in their minds. Pay for everything using my credit cards. Stop by my bank and do something, like buying more checks or something. The whole point of all of this is that if I left any DNA or anything behind, or somehow there was other indication that I was there, I have this alibi. Sure, you might have my DNA at the scene of the crimes, but how do you explain that I provably was in my hometown 10 hours away from the crimes? I definitely don't have a twin. Either way, after a year or two, even if there's no sign that they are onto me, I go and pick up the metals. From that point I set up a little home forge. They are pretty easy to make for 200 using random materials. From that, I melt all the metals down and I cast them as artistic sculptures. Little things like a pound or so. Then from this, over time, I drive around and go to pawn shops wanting to sell my art. Inevitably they won't give a shit about the artistic value of these things, but will likely pay for them in terms of it's a £1 solid gold statue. I'll pay for the £1 of gold, and slowly but surely I convert all these things into cash. Never visit the same pawn shop twice, as far as the cash is concerned. Basically just start paying for everything in cash. Though I don't go only with my ill-gotten cash. Withdrawn money from my bank account now and then, and when I'm paying for things, go 50-50 between the dirty money and the real money. Either way, I hide the sudden existence of the money by spending it slowly over time, effectively reducing my expenses. In this way my bank accounts have no real visible difference in behavior other than I appear to be living a bit more frugally. It wouldn't be enough to trigger any audits, so I should be good. In the end, the reason I end up being able to buy something flashy is because it looks like I saved up money over time. And I did, if only because the dirty money helped me reduce my visible expenses. Masturbate on top of the skyscraper. Homelander, is that you? Probably catch up on schoolwork and sleep the rest of the time. Assassination time. Drink some sleepy time tea and enjoy some good sleep. On the other hand, I used to fantasize about having a large wad of cash, so maybe I'll first do some grocery shopping. Find every winning scratch-off lottery ticket. Watch a TV series without my housemate walking into the lounge and asking questions. I don't have big goals, haha. The answers here are a lot more PG than I was expecting. Edit: people are taking this comment way too seriously. Find my dad. Have you looked in the last place you saw him? Have some fun. Change things ever so slightly, like switching people's clothes, turning them around, turning cars around. Put a dog leash in random people's hands. One time one phrases. So many minds are going to be blown. Turning around cars. What happened to ever so slightly? Personally, I know I still would not clean my room, and that thought scares me. If time freezes, how can it be for 48 hours? You have a fair point. Does light stop? As I say with every time stop post, prevent a buff Frenchman from walking up some stairs in Egypt. Will you also throw construction equipment at a Japanese teenager? Probably count the ballots in Nevada. Something find a way to be rich, blah blah. I will walk on street, and when I find someone using his phone, I will take his phone from his hand and open Rickroll on it, then put it back in his hand, and keep doing that for everyone I see for the rest of the 48 hours. I'd probably be confused for a solid hour, then it'd say I was gonna do something, and wind up sleeping for the first day. Then the second half I'd walk to the store and bring back everything I could hold. I'd then spend a few hours eating my loot. Then I'd repeat, but with tech, but just small, untraceable stuff. And it'd probably pick the pockets of a few people while doing so. Yeah, I'd hide it too. Then probably sleep until everything unfroze. Pull everyone's pants down. Surprise hygiene inspection in all local restaurants. Take photos. Find out if the neighbor is really using his large garage for drug dealing. Pet all the dogs. There's an Amazon warehouse about 5 miles away. This kid's going shopping. I'd go shopping. I would hit all the big corporate stores and just steal everything of use. I'd finish my Christmas shopping. I'd steal a fridge and a few freezers and stock my garage with food for a year. I'd steal items that are going to be rare fast this Christmas and then resell them on eBay once time unfroze. I would hit the dispensaries and steal all of the weed. I'd take cash from all corporate stores. I would be set up for a long time. I might also make it look like my best friend's abusive ex had peed himself by peeing on him. Aside from the very illegal things I will not mention publicly, I would go to Disneyland. Might be unethical, but I'm taking a PS5 and tons of games my broke self can't afford. While I can't rob lottery tickets at 7-Eleven because they can track that, I can't rob Apple stores because they can track devices. Bank vaults will be locked. First things first, get a truck for transportation of goods. Probably take my neighbor's F350 and bring it back before 48 hours are up. I think the best place to make money would be going to multiple jewelry stores. After like a dozen jewelry stores being cleaned out, I'd also go shopping for some nice fancy suits and clothing. I'm talking about the stuff that is like $250 per shirt and up. My skin would love it. Get a bunch of fancy shoes too. I'd rummage the registers in all these stores as well. I'd even get shit for my girlfriend. She needs an updated wardrobe. I'd also probably do some shit to duck with people I hate. Nothing awful, just like break every window to their car and house, poke a hole in their oil tank, etc. I wouldn't cut off dicks or poke eyes out, that's way too hardcore and evil. Edit: if the world being frozen means I can't drive because cars wouldn't work, it would become a lot more difficult. In that case, I'd take a wheelbarrow, fill it with garbage bags, and walk with it to the closest stores I can find that have valuable stuff. I'd take everything of value and move it to an unsuspicious location. Fill the bags and just leave them there while I go to collect more. Once time is no longer frozen, I'd be somewhat far from the crime scenes. No one would be able to report me for anything. The loot would be in black garbage bags so no one could see I have all this merchandise. I'd tell my girlfriend to rent a U-Haul and get all the loot moved to my home. My husband would watch pornography for 47 hours. What about the last hour? Probably eat Haddies.